After my 26 years of being a football fan, many years playing against Leeds United in the Championship and the Premier League, I've learned one key detail about Leeds. They are always on the cusp of complete meltdown at any time. Leeds United are of course a club which many fans like to hate, mainly because they also like to be hated. Many football clubs are not made for people around the world. However, when it comes to Leeds, it absolutely is the case. And this simultaneously is its greatest strength and its greatest weakness. The badge, the shirt, is heavy, and the expectation can absolutely drown you. However, I cannot lie, but I have an interest into Leeds at all times. Mainly because from the outside, it is purest comedy in its finest form. Please comment down below your thoughts on Leeds United as a fan base or just kind of their current situation. Like, subscribe, and Mazor Designs for the best prints made by myself. A ton of Leeds items too. Use code LUFC for 15% off all items. And let's get into it. If you are a Leeds fan, if you just take a step back and just view the club from an outside perspective, I think life would be a much more peaceful experience. So why am I doing this video now? Well, of course, Leeds United last season, after a terrible start, had an incredible run. And then after the last international break before the end of the championship season, with according to the form table, they were the main team to get into the top two, with Leicester falling off, Ipswich kind of just holding on to it. Leeds were seen as the main team until one game. Coventry away. Since early April, losing to Coventry, Leeds have only won 2 competitive games of football, that being the 4-3 away at Middlesbrough and the 4-0 at home to Norwich in the playoff semi-final. 11 games, 2 wins, including those games being a disastrous 4-0 defeat away at QPR, and of course the loss in the playoff final. Now this video isn't purely based on recent games, however, it's basically the view of the club in general. Leeds United for the last 2 to 3 decades, if you were a fan of the club, has been nothing but false dawns and devastating crashes down to reality. Other than one period of the football club, one period where to this day, Leeds United fans still look back on with nothing but complete love and admiration. This, of course, being Marcelo Bielsa. Leeds United had it all. A man that really represented the club. Passion, the grit, the determination, energy. Leeds United were meant to be a club which were different and of course stood out from the rest, and that is what they were under Marcelo Bielsa. And despite a rough time period in that second stint in the Premier League, they of course parted ways with Marcelo Bielsa, with many Leeds fans with what's happened since can't help but feel like it's been going downhill since the appointment of Jesse Marsch, and now with Daniel Farke, who should be a championship specialist, is finding it hard to get over the line. The consistency is now struggling with him and is now being called out of being a manager similar at times to his experience over at Norwich, as being a manager over-reliant on moments of magic, individual brilliance. And now with his players now being plucked away from him, which had that individual brilliance, Somerville, Jorginho Rutter is now gone to this day, and it's not hard to imagine that Wilfred Gnonto will also be leaving as well. If they leave, they'll get a lot of money. Issue is, can you trust Farke to bring in the right players? I don't think those players will be easy to replace. I think you need 2 players for each one of them that does leave. And the issue is, they're not spending their money. And I do find comparisons between Everton and Leeds in terms of the general expectation, the weight of the shirt. However, I do believe at Leeds, at Ellen Road, it is a bit worse. However, Everton at Goodison, I find to be something similar, where the crowd can overwhelm you, where you would think that it should carry you on and be a 12th man. Sometimes I feel like, unless you got special players, that can only weigh you down. And if you can't rise up to it, I feel like it's only inevitable that it will consume you. And with these players going, you need to get the right character to replace them. And Leeds, for all its incredible atmosphere that it can be, can also be its worst enemy. And that also coincides with one other element. In the Premier League, maybe not too much, but you do also sense it, but especially in the Championship and League One, which they have played in recent years, Leeds United is the match that you look for in the calendar at the start of the season. Every team wants to beat Leeds. Every team does. And this is a Burnley fan saying that. I'm not a Leeds fan. Leeds is the team that you want to beat. And I feel like opposition players feel that too. The kind of quote-unquote cup final phrase that is thrown around. But I don't think it's massively far off from being the truth. And I think that does play a factor. I think it does play a factor in terms of fans coming to the games. And I do think it plays a factor into that extra 1% of effort from the players. And this may sound like a nonsense. However, I've seen it time and time again. Leeds is a club that I always like to keep an eye on, no matter where they are in the league, because it always is really hilarious to watch them at times, and a complete meltdown that comes from the fan base. In the Championship, of course, you're looking at certain teams that you would imagine should be going up or should be in the promotion spots. You're looking at Leeds, you're looking at Burnley, you're looking at Luton, you may now be looking at Sheffield United, or maybe even a West Brom, that kind of team. Leeds were very hard done by in terms of the quality of the Championship last year at the top level, where with the points tally they usually would have gone up anyway. However, they simply weren't, because Ipswich and Leicester were just as good. The consequence of not going up last year means that their players leaving, their best players, were only inevitable, and many has their key players. Archie Gray, Leeds born, Leeds academy prospect, he had to go. Somerville is a massive loss. Who was the moment of brilliance that you can rely on game after game? Wasn't the case. Since Diarra, of course, confirmed his move away to Bournemouth, Glenn Kamara, who was a consistent player in at midfield, went to Stade Rennais. Marc Roca, of course, confirmed his departure to Real Betis, same as Diego Llorente. And now if you're adding on top Jorginho Rutter, many of the players that maybe now looking at the team thinking, are we really as strong as we once thought? You look behind that team and what's really behind them. Patrick Bamford is not the player he used to be. Brendan Aronson is a really strange player to look at in terms of how he plays. I don't think he's the man to ever in any world replace Jorginho Rutter. And Rutter, in terms of the system, is absolutely pivotal. In terms of transition, he is the man that can make the quick incisive passes and to move the team up the pitch. No other player can do that, and him missing is a massive loss in terms of how they play. Many people would say he's a bigger loss than Somerville. And then you look behind and you've got Joe Gelhardt, who people are kind of waiting to make that next step up, but I think he may be thrown in deep end because he may have to. Joe Perreault is also a player that is completely frustrating to watch, because from what I see when I watch him, I think he slows the play down way too much. I think he's not clinical enough in his decision making, and when it comes to Championship, people will be ideally in a low block against Leeds a lot because they are usually the team with most possession. I feel like he's not got the final cutting edge to cut open a massive opportunity. One saving grace he could potentially have is Mateo Joseph, which Mateo Joseph is a young academy striker that could be really good. Issue is, I feel like they could be risking him getting injured a lot more, and if he does get injured, they're relying on Patrick Bamford. That, for me, is now turning into a lower Championship player, not a reliable number 9 that you can get promoted with. And this is someone, of course, a fan who is looking at Leeds to be the main competitor in terms of getting promoted, and I think they will, of course, win games because they have got a good team. I just don't know if they've got a great team and a team that you can say completely will get promoted this year. With Rutter coming in, they could potentially make 150 million euros of intakes here in terms of their outgoings. Would I get put back in the squad? They desperately need to make signings. Johnny Rowe from Norwich, they tried to sign. However, it looks like he's going to Marseille, so they missed out on him. Who can really come into Leeds? I don't know if we know the clear answer here. And whoever they get, halfway through August, there's only 14, 15 games left, and it now can become expensive as the season's now underway. Leeds never has it the easy way, obviously, and it won't have it the easy way again this campaign. And the one thing I will say for Leeds fans is that I don't envy you guys at all in terms of what you guys have to go through, because the issue is with Leeds fans is that they expect them to be a lot better than what they are. Is that fair? Maybe not from the outside. However, if you're a Leeds fan, they absolutely expect better, demand better, and it's your guys' choice to decide if that is warranted or not. So comment down below your thoughts on Leeds, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. But Leeds are never meant to be happy, and it looks like they've got a big job this year. And Daniel Farke, I think he's running out of time. Oh yeah, and they've also got West Brom away this weekend. It'd be really awkward if they beat them, but I've got a really bad feeling it could be a complete meltdown this weekend. And I'll be watching Square Ball for that. See you, boys.